Hey everyone, I wanted to make this video for information purposes. I went online yesterday and I looked, actually I started when I was out on the water and I couldn't find anything, but my trolling motor is a Minn Kota Ultrex. It's a 2019 model, so it's got the upgraded circuit board. It's the 80-pound Ultrex with a 45-inch shaft. It's on my Ranger RT 198P. And yesterday while I was fishing, I made a quick left and a right turn, and I heard this pop, and then I lost all control, or easy control, over my trolling motor, and I thought the circuit board went out, because that's all I've ever heard about is the circuit boards going out. And I went online, I looked for hours, looked at forums, and there was nothing. I mean, everything was 2017 to 2018. Didn't see really much on 2019, but there was a few guys who mentioned the same exact symptoms that I'm having with my trolling motor. And I'm a troubleshooter, so I like to look through things, and I can fix just about anything. So I figured I'd figure out myself, since the coronavirus is going around. Minn Kota's closed, and you can't get any parts for it until they reopen. So I'm going to go through a step-by-step on what I did if you're having these symptoms. The symptoms for this would be, you can hit the spot lock button and it'll make the sound, and then if you tap on the trolling motor foot pedal, it'll make the sound to disengage the spot lock. And another symptom would be, you'd be able to rotate the head on the trolling motor manually, and you'll be able to push the foot pedal to control it, but man, it's a lot of force, it's hard. So normally with the Ultrex, if you don't have power going to it, you can't turn the head. It's just not going to happen. With the foot pedal, you might be able to turn it manually by hand, but I'm going to go through and show you what happened. And this may be an issue with earlier models, maybe just with the 2019s and on. But like I said, I saw a lot of guys that had the same issues and the same problems, and everyone kept saying circuit board, they'd replace it, and the circuit board, they would replace it, but they would have the same issue, and this was never mentioned. So, and I had a weird feeling that it had something to do with the steering, I guess it's called the steering control module, but I'll double confirm that later on in the video. So I'm going to go over everything with you here. Alright, so I pretty much went over the symptoms of what I had. I'm going to go over it one more time. So the foot pedal I was able to use with the Ultrex, but it was hard to steer. I was able to turn the head manually on the water, left and right, real easy. And the spot lock, when you hit the button, it would indicate that the spot lock is activated, and when you touch the foot pedal again, it would shut it off. And I think those are the three main symptoms. And when this thing is turned off, I was still able to turn the head with the foot pedal. So what I did is I went online and I couldn't find anything on all the forums. So what I found out, what is actually the problem, that a lot of guys mentioned the same symptoms I was having. It's inside of this steering control module, or steering control assembly, and it's this motor right here, which is the motor steer, and this is the little wire harness that goes with it, and it broke, and I'll explain how. So first you want to do this, you want to take this housing off. So you're going to do that by removing the two wires, which these two generally would be connected, and they're going to be inside of here. You'll see that, and you just take a small screwdriver and just go underneath and just pull it out, carefully disconnect it, separate them, and you'll see two screws. You're going to take the two screws out, and this will just come right off. Set it to the side. Once you set that to the side, you're good over here, and then you're going to go under here, and there's going to be 5 Allen bolts. They're going to be 1/4 inch. You're going to want to use an Allen key to break the bolts loose, and you can use an Allen key to take the bolts out. I just use my impact to pull them out the rest of the way, so it'll speed up the process. This piece does not just fall off. The way you take this piece off is get a screwdriver that's sturdy enough, and if you look right here, this piece and this piece are going to be uptight. You know, there's going to be no gap here. You want to take your screwdriver and you're going to take that and put it in a little hole and just give it a little pry left and right, and when you do that, it'll open this up just enough to where you can get a thin screwdriver in there, wherever that screwdriver went, and then you're going to just kind of just push it down in there and just give it a little bit of a pry left and right and just slowly work it around. And you want to do it to where you don't mar up this finish. Once you've gotten it completely loose and it finally comes off, you just slide this down, look for stuff on the deck, and work on this on the deck of your boat, because little pieces like this screw, you don't want to lose that. And once you've opened it up, you want to take this motor and just look first and see if the wires are broken. If the wires are broken, then you want to take the motor out and see if it comes out. If it comes out, that means that these screws are loose. And if these screws are loose, then that means that if the wires break, that means that these screws are loose. And what you want to do, there's going to be 4 of these push nuts, and they're going to be in there. You're going to want to go to Advanced Auto Parts or any auto parts store and get some new ones, and you want to take the ones that are on there and to remove them. They're non-salvageable. I mean, you could try to salvage them, but then you're just going to run into issues later. Take a pair of pliers and just squeeze it, and then they just come right off. So once they come off, you just dispose of those, set the new ones to the side, and then look in here for any parts. If you look here on the, see if I can lean this thing up here somehow. Alright, so if you look here at the motor, there's going to be 4 holes, and that's where the 4 screws go. And those 4 screws go here. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I see 2 here. This was the clue that let me know why it broke and why all the issues happened. And for some reason, there's no Loctite or indication of it on there. Maybe they don't put it on for a reason. I'm actually going to take some Loctite and just put a little bit on there so this doesn't happen again. I've already removed all 4 of the push nuts. Once you remove all the push nuts, you want to be careful that when you pull this off that the gears don't fall out. There's a gear that turns this piece. One more thing too, this wire actually runs from the top of the head through, and as it's running through, it comes through here. And what I did is I just took the screws out, and this is a magnet or just a protection, you know, something to protect the wire. I just zip tied it in place so I don't forget to put this piece back in, because I know sometimes I've done that and it's annoying because you got to take it all back apart. So there's a little tip for you. So just put this, you know, these 2 screws that hold these 2 plastic clips that hold this wire together. You'll see when you take it apart, and that'll keep that together. Once you've pulled this out, you're going to look and find the other screw. I'm sure it's back there, and I'm going to get to that here in a little bit. And then whenever you want to fix this wire down here, you have 2 choices. You can either solder it, or you can just use heat shrink solder connectors and some protective heat shrink tubing to go over the work that you did. Just in case something happens. You're going to want to put the motor back in and make sure it's screwed down tight so that it doesn't fall down, and then carefully put it back on. I'm going to actually solder this, so I'm going to heat up the solder that's there and just remove those 2 wires, because there's actually enough slack in this wire, another 2 inches I can use, so I'm able to put that on here. And I'll be back and I'll have the results to show you. Okay, so I took off the piece, and this is the underside of it where the screws go, and I have the 3rd here, and the 4th one I found, and it's in here stuck in the grease, and I'm hoping that didn't do any damage to the actual gears, but I'll inspect that here in just a minute. I'm trying to get any grease on the carpet. Oh, come here, you sticky. Come here, old sticky. All right, there it is. So there's a 4th screw. So we have all the parts that we need. And that's what it looks like underneath that plate. So I'll get back with the part where I put it all back together. Alright everybody, I went ahead and put back the shroud over the top of that wire connection and ran the wire through first before I reconnected it to the motor here, and I put 2 zip ties this time, that way it's snug and it's not going to fall off or move. Also, I soldered this side. I didn't have a lot of wire, so I needed to use a solder connector on this side, and then I just put heat shrink tubing that's got adhesive inside of it in there, so the connection's good. Hopefully everything works when I plug it in, so I'll get back here in a little bit and we'll see what kind of progress we made, and hopefully this trolling motor will be working just like it was working before it broke. Alright, I have it pretty much set back in place. One tip too is there's 4 pins that line up the holes. Also inside of here there's a wire. Just make sure it's in the right place. It kind of feeds in where it needs to go. So I can see it. That wire right there. So it'll guide its way. Just kind of check it here and there. And on these 1/4 inch Allen bolts, whenever you put these things back in, just do, start with 1. Whenever you get it lined up and get the threads going, but don't tighten it, obviously you don't want to do that and strip it out. Get the other one in, tighten it, then put the other 2 on the bottom half, and then put this middle one in, and then just slowly creep them up until it's completely closed in. And that is how you close the assembly here. So, and then once I get this closed up, I'll plug it back in and hopefully everything works as it should. Alright, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, but I wanted to get this thing mounted. So here's a moment of truth. I got everything put back together, and I wanted to save this. Alright, we got power, that's good. Alright, so hopefully the head turned like it should. Please move. Oh, yes. All the way around. That's back. Sorry, that's just my steps down there. Sweet. Let's see if we got power to the armature down there. And sweet. Well, that's what it was. Alright. Cool. Well, that's how you fix the Minn Kota Ultrex if it's not the circuit board. So
yeah, I'm happy. Cool. I'm going fishing tomorrow. Peace.